Next thing I knew, Saki and I were in that dream room again, sitting next to each other on the sofa. What the? Next to me, Saki was resting her head on my shoulder and sleeping, even though this was a dream.
起きた。
White woman jump scare. Oh, actually no, white woman jump scare. And when I looked up, Alice was startlingly close and looking down at us. What? It's you, Alice. Wait, how long? How long was that? How long were you watching? You were watching, weren't you?
ごめん。はい。一通り見てました。
When I hurriedly pulled back from Alice, my shoulder moved and Saki's body slid onto my lap. Even though her head was now resting on my legs, she still didn't wake up. I was unsure as to whether I should wake Saki up or let her sleep, so instead I just pointed at Alice and my mouth went agape, with my mouth agape.
いや、私だって見るつもりなかったんだって。だけど、見えるものは仕方ないじゃない？
Alice seemed to feel guilty, but she still spoke lightheartedly, so I didn't know what to say to her.
ま、それはそれとして、寝てるうちにサクッとやっちゃおうか。
With Alice's hands, in Alice's hands were heart-shaped shears. She pressed them against the rose on Saki's chest. I wondered if it was really okay to cut it. The smell of the forest emanating from the rose was hard for me to bear, so I didn't stop her.
Off with his head なんてね。
You're Alice, not the Red Queen, okay? You can't say that. With a sharp snap, the rose fell. The petals scattered from the fallen rose as it melted into the air. Saki's breathing was still quiet, and the smell of the forest was gone, so I felt relieved.
ひどいわ。あんなキスでごまかすなんて。サキちゃんが覚えてたら怒るんじゃないかしら。
Hey, she didn't say to kiss her on the lips, okay? With a cup and saucer in hand, Maya was sipping at her tea a little ways away from us.
君、こんなところにのこのこと。
Alice looked like she was going to leap at Maya, but I held up my hand to stop her. Alice seemed reluctant, but she stepped back. If she is, then I'll let her get mad at me.
ほんとひどい。だけど、サキちゃんがそれでいいっていうのなら、私も許してあげるわ。
Maya giggled.
だけど、まさか、このままでいいなんて思ってないでしょ？
I know. Feeling Saki's weight on my lap, I acknowledged that there wasn't a quick fix.
わかってるね。だけど理解していてもできるわけじゃないものね。
Okay. Okay. I mean, to be fair, we haven't seen the, how would I say, dream variants of every character. And, I mean, to be fair, we still haven't seen every character, right? We're still missing Keiko. But, motherfucker, I mean, to be fair, it's pretty fucking obvious that that there are inspirations from Alice in Wonderland, considering, you know, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm trying to figure out not who Maya resembles, right? Maya's the Cheshire Cat. It's pretty fucking obvious from the purple and black stripes and the cat tail, who would have guessed? But what is Saki's role? Right? And to be fair, it's been a while since I've seen Alice in Wonderland, both the Tim Burton adaptation and the original Disney cartoon. So I don't really know every character. So my gut is telling me that she's the White Queen. And I don't think that's the case. Right? She might also be the White Rabbit, right? You know, the one that has popped up recently and has been turned into a meme. Or I guess, yeah, it's been turned into a meme in certain spaces to make fun of older women who complain about how they spent their entire youth, Kakunuke reference, being ran through by men, and now that they're older and undesirable, they complain how much men don't want them. Or, you know, similar things like that. You know, going back to this CG, and I know it might be a bit of a stretch, but not really any of this. I mean, obviously there's the white part, but more so this, right? They resemble ears, you know? So, that would mean she's the White Rabbit. Yeah, I don't know. Just, yeah, maybe I should speculate about it after we see the other characters. I knew that too, but I also knew that Maya knew I knew. Shut up. She was purposefully trying to tease me. Alice seemed to have had enough and started walking towards Maya. She put herself between Maya and me, folded her arms and glared at her. Maya looked surprised.
人の嫌がることをわざわざ言わない。トールもサキちゃんも人がいいから許しちゃうみたいだけど、それに甘えないの。
She pointed at Maya with the hand that wasn't holding the shears. Okay, god damn it, I hate that I'm still on this point. If each character is meant to resemble, or, yeah, I guess, is inspired by a character from the Alice in Wonderland novels, the series, the books, yeah, I guess, then who is Toru meant to be? Because, well, Alice is the main character. So then, who's Toru? Right? And I mean, as a joke, I would say the Mad Hatter, because I mean, you know, but still.
人の良さに甘えるのは誰かしらね。
For a moment, I felt as though I had caught a glimpse of Maya's actual emotions. Alice had struck a chord.
何よそれ。
Alice looked puzzled, but Maya immediately changed her expression.
それじゃあ、サキちゃんの言う覚悟でも何でも決めたらどんな形でもちゃんと言いなさいね。サキちゃんもそうしてほしいって思ってるから。ね、兄さん。
And with that, Maya took her leave. She spun around, and the world spun with her until both had disappeared. Just like that. That was the end of the dream. The sunlight spilling through the curtains shined through my eyelids. Under that glare, I woke up. Finally, back to the real world. This is my apartment, isn't it? There aren't any flowers anywhere, there's no flowers, are there? Oh, yeah. I grabbed my glasses from my bedside and put them on. The view through the lenses was my normal apartment, not a single strange plant in sight. But there still seemed to be lingering effects from the dream because my body was heavy and wouldn't move the way I wanted. Well, I guess this is slightly better than if she was on top of you. Saki murmured. She had been using my arm as a pillow the whole night, so it's numb. Oh, yeah, you stay the night. I completely forgotten about that with all that had just happened. Of course, this position made it hard for me to move. Far from being just a pillow, Saki was clinging onto me pretty hard. I'm sure she would be clinging onto you pretty hard, considering she had night terrors. The dream turned into a nightmare pretty quickly, is all I'm saying. Being this close to her, I suddenly smelled the lingering scent of her shampoo, and not that of the nightmare flowers. I finally felt that this wasn't a dream. I found myself hugging her back and buried my face in her hair. There was a hint of sweat in Saki's scent.
兄さん、何してるの?
I was startled by Saki's voice. I hurriedly leaned back as Saki looked up at me from my chest. I suddenly remembered the expression she had when I was leaning over her in the bed, and my face turned red. But Saki didn't get mad. She calmly hugged me tight. So, how much of the dream did she remember? And if she remembered anything, how much of it, if she remembered anything, how much of it did she, how much of after the dream did she remember? Saki?
夢を見たの。兄さんとマヤちゃんが出てくる夢。
I was surprised at those words. Saki seemed to be worried about something different than me, as she hugged me tightly. What kind of dream was it? I timidly asked. Saki shook her head slightly.
わからない。マヤちゃんと一緒にお茶を飲んでた気もするし、兄さんとなんだか幸せな夢を見てた気もするし。
Okay, so she doesn't remember exact events, she just remembers the feelings she experienced. Saki suddenly dug her nails into my back. Ow! Saki!
なんだかひどいことをされた気もするわ。
I know what you're talking about. Well, of all the things that you had to remember.
あれ、夢なのよね。
She put her arms around my back again, this time gently and awkwardly. Well, it was a dream, so there was no denying that. However, Saki had the same dream as me. With Saki hugging me, I could feel the softness of her body, the sensation of her chest, and smell the scent of her hair. I didn't at all feel aroused by it. My throat tightened, and I felt like someone had splashed cold water on me. It was a dream, but I felt an uncomfortable feeling like I had just swallowed an unknown object. What was this sensation? It had been a dream. Why was this happening?
兄さん、どうしたの?
Saki looked up at me, apparently worried about how I was acting. Maybe it wasn't just Saki and me. Maybe Alice had been somewhere having the same dream too. If that was true, Saki had the same dream. At those words, Saki stiffened. I'm sure it was the same dream. You might not remember the whole thing, but I do.
そうなんだ。兄さんはちゃんと覚えてるのね。
Yeah, honestly, I wish I didn't. Drinking tea in a weird place, with Maya and Saki showing up. If that was the same dream, if everyone having it really existed, then...
あの夢を兄さんも見ていたのよね。だったら。
Is he saying that Maya is still alive? Right? This is a very weird case. Because, you know, obviously everything that they've shown that they've shown indicates that Maya is dead and Toru is grieving. Right? And using the dreams as a coping mechanism. I don't know. But then again, where does Alice fit in that? So, maybe it's more literal. It was as I thought. She was talking about a fantasy story.
ねえ。だったら、あそこにいたマーヤちゃんも、もしかしたら、同じ夢を見ていたのかしら。
Alice might not even be real. And, there's no indication that she is. Not just Saki and me. Somewhere had Maya been having the same dream too? No way. Even as I said this, somewhere in my heart, I wanted it to be true. From a place both near and far away, there was a figure watching those two. She sneered and giggled gleefully.
さて、どうかしら?
Of course, Maya's voice didn't reach the other two. She was spying on them one-sidedly. Here, there was no trace of the nightmare flowers, scent only. Wait, what? Oh, of the nightmare flowers' scent. Nightmare flowers' scent. Only the smell of the dense forest wafted in the air.
私もどこかから同じ夢を見ているのかしら。私が持ってるここ以外の記憶は全部3人で過ごした時のものだけだもの。だったら2人に会うまでの私は一体どこで何をしていたのかしら。その答えを教えてくれる人はいるのかしら。ねえ。
In the dark room, Maya's emotionless giggle echoed and disappeared. Interlude? What do you mean? It's only been 2 chapters. As soon as I fell asleep, I was here again. Ah, shit. Before I could realize what was happening, I was in the dream room. I couldn't remember how I got here. So it was more convenient for me to simply accept that this was a dream, as that's just how dreams were. Maya and I were sitting across from each other with a table prepared for a tea party between us. Quite displeased, I sat down and drank my black tea. Maya sat on the sofa with her elbows on the table and appraised me with her eyes.
紅茶の味はいかがかしら?
It's good. I answered apathetically, but Maya grinned, seemingly satisfied. Her eyes and mouth were like thin crescent moons. It was definitely not a cute way for a girl to smile, but it was Maya, so there was no helping it. I can guarantee you, there are a few people who would beg to differ.
そんな怖い顔してどうしたっていうの? 私以外の女の子の前でそんな顔したらダメよ。
Too late. I'm always like this. Ever since I started dreaming like this, I always had this expression for a while after a nightmare. At least I don't think I normally smiled that much. Saki was always getting mad at me for knitting my brows.
本当に不安だわ。私がついてないと相変わらずダメなんだもの。
I have a feeling that you're the reason he's like this. Because, I don't think he was having these, dreams, nightmares, whatever he'd call them, before you, well, I guess died. Not really. Even without you, I'm getting by somehow.
そうね。自分ではそう思ってるでしょうね。
I didn't tend to get irritated when she said things like that, this so confidently. I had always been like this. Anyway, what was with that dream I had with Saki? I was about to say that when Maya leaned over the table and silenced me. All she did was hold her finger to my lips, but I couldn't say anything more.
聞きたいことがあっても今は答えてあげないわ。だから言っても意味がないのよ。
Why are you being so selfish?
だって今日ここに呼んだのはそんな話がしたいからじゃないんだもの。
Maya got down from the table and onto my lap. Oh, okay. She sat down such that it looked like I was holding a child in my lap, even though Maya wasn't anything like a small child, except for her height. Her body was light, much too light for her size, so then I guess not like a child. No, I guess she's not as tall as a child. So I could tell that this was a dream, and that this Maya wasn't the real one.
聞きたいのは起きている間のことよ。今までずっと会ってなかったんだもの。とても気になるわ。
Of course we haven't seen each other. If everything had happened as I had planned, we would have been reunited.
だけど、会えたんだから聞きたいわ。ねえ、恋人はできてないのはわかるけど、誰か気になる相手とかいないの？
Well, considering who gifted me this game, I'm obliged to say, I'm obligated to say you, not obliged. She isn't, I haven't done my rankings yet, but she isn't the first one, okay? I replied, you could say I do, I don't. I wonder what I have to say for this to progress through her route. To progress, or how would I say, to get to her route, right? Okay, I had to confirm, and yes, I do have to say you could say I do. But the interesting thing is, it's not so much that I don't, right? Choosing I don't doesn't lead down Maya's route. It's more so that I don't is Alice's route, right? It leads down her route. Oh, yeah. Essentially, you could say I do leads down every other character's route except Alice, is what I was trying to say. It's not that it only specifically leads down Maya's route. You could say I do. Maya put on a relieved expression. At least that's what it looks like to me.
本当によかったわ。きちんと私以外の女の子にも興味があったのね。
I thought I had an inactive timer on the cursor so they would disappear when I don't move it for a set amount of time, but apparently not. Wait, what was that supposed to mean? Maya ran her hand along my cheek. I could almost feel goosebumps on the back of my neck.
だって昔は私とサキちゃんとばかり遊んでて、男の子の友達も女の子の友達も少なかったじゃない。
True. It's surprising that he had 2 female friends over any male friends, though. That was partly your fault. Maya always had a shrewd personality, so people avoided us. It was usually just us 3. It's more surprising that it was 2 girls. Right? I feel like, Maya's coming off as the fucking yandere type character, so it's surprising that she let Saki be Toru's friend. It wasn't quite bullying. It was Maya's own version of it. Maya was very clever for her age, so I think her classmates were scared of her. There was a time when she would bully Saki, but Saki was more resilient than most. Ah, okay, so it's not so much that Maya... Well, no. So there's my answer, alright? Saki was just too stubborn to give up on being friends with Toru, and Maya just tolerated her. More importantly, apparently Maya had traumatized some kid who tried to bully Saki, so partly because of that, it was just the 3 of us most of the time. You really do just sow seeds of misery into everyone around you, don't you?
それは違うわ。私はみんなの本当は望んでることを膨らませてるだけだもの。
That's even worse.
それで、誰？その気になってるのって、私の知ってる子かしら？
Like I said, actually no. The answer is always going to be yes. Maya seemed not to pay any attention to my reply. As usual, she took everything in stride. You know her, you don't know her. I really? This is an option as well. Interestingly enough, also one that I have to save on. Really? Right. Okay. So what's interesting about this choice is that, you know, just like with the previous one where the second option led down Alice's route, you don't know her leads down Yayoi's, of all people. And I mean, I guess that makes sense considering Toru wasn't friends with Yayoi when he knew when he was friends with Maya. But you know, there is another character that I would assume Maya doesn't know, who we also haven't met yet. And that would be Keiko. But it's but it's not going to be this option that leads down to Keiko's that leads down Keiko's route. It's the next one. Spoilers. You know her. Sure.
つまり、さきちゃんよね。
Sure. I mean, it's not like these options don't lead down Saki's route, but once again, obligated to say no. I don't know what you're imagining, but of course I'd be interested in her. I was causing trouble for her. I felt guilty about it, both jokingly and seriously. There was no way I wouldn't be thinking about her.
だけどきっと、恋とか愛とかじゃないなんてひどいことを言うのよね。
He doesn't have the balls to say he loves her until we get more choices to lead down her route. Yeah, dismissing it like that would certainly be the easy way out.
あら、一応それがおかしいって自覚はあったのね。
Why do you look so surprised?
意外よ。てっきりさきちゃんとはそんな関係じゃないとか変な照れ隠しすると思ったのに。私がいない間、ちゃんとそういうことを意識したり考えたりするようになっていたのね。嬉しいわ。
Yeah, he's got you to thank for that. You know, after he confronted his feelings for Saki, I guess you could say, and admitted that he's just using the fact that they label each other as siblings as a mask to hide their feelings for each other. I kind of said that at the start. Never mind. Why did I have to be told things like this by Maya? She wasn't even beside me anymore. I broke into a cold sweat. If this was something born from my own subconsciousness. You have no right to tease me about that. Maya had been running her hand along my face and neck. I violently grabbed that hand, as if to say it was annoying. It is interesting to think that Maya is just the personification of Toru's subconsciousness, right? He's obviously battling with the fact that he couldn't. I can't say literally, but I guess save Maya, right? We don't really have enough context for the dream that we've been seeing to. I say me, and people who are watching this who haven't played through Hapymaher, I guess, you know, who you know, we don't have enough context to know if it's what actually happened, right? If the dream actually happened, or if that's just a more exaggerated version of the events that occurred to separate Maya and Toru, I guess you could say. But thinking of Maya as, you know, not she isn't like the other characters, right? In, you know, outside of being obviously more antagonistic compared to the other characters, compared to the other girls, and you may say this about Alice too, because unlike with Yayoi and Saki, we haven't seen her outside of the dreams. But, you know, her introduction kind of explained that away as a sort of like fucking what would you even call it? Like a fucking, it's sort of Inception kind of thing, right? I thought myself pathetic for even considering allowing her to continue like that. Because you know that the reason Saki and I are like this is because...
そうね。きっとそれは私がいなくなったからだわ。
It's called grief. For a moment, Mai's voice turned serious. But she quickly returned to the same grin she'd been wearing before. Her hand slipped out of mine, as though I hadn't grabbed it at all.
だけど大丈夫よ。これからはきちんと私が見ていてあげるから。
Yeah, but why now? Right, outside of the fact that, you know, if Maya wasn't here, then there wouldn't be a visual novel. But why specifically now? What events transpired before the start of this visual novel, I guess you could say, that allowed for Maya to, I guess, materialize inside Toru's mind? Did those words make me happy or scared? From where?
どこからでも。私がどこにいるのかなんて分かってるくせに、わざわざ言ってほしいの？言わせたいのかしら？それともまだもしかしたらなんて甘い希望を抱いているの？
She walked around me and hugged me from behind.
ずっといつでも一緒よ。大丈夫。どんな望みでもきっと叶うわ。ほら、こうして私とまた会えたみたいに。
Give me a break. My voice was embarrassingly weak.
いいわよ。そうやって強がるのも素敵だわ。だけど、これだけは覚えておいて。
I guess I should have said that line with a less resolve. I heard her step onto the floor behind me.
私たちなら夢の中で何でもできる。どんな夢でも叶えられるのよ。
Maya's laughter got on my nerves. To me, it was the sound of temptation. But interestingly enough, no flowers this time. So, as much as he says her laughter is the sound of temptation, or yeah, you know, it's less tempting, right? She's less tempting now than she was the first time around. And then I woke up, and my alarm clock had yet to ring. As I slowly opened my eyes, I saw my normal apartment, and almost as if on cue, came my usual wake-up headache. Plus, I felt like Maya's laughter was still ringing in my ears. At this rate, it's only a matter of time before I collapse. Waking up from this kind of dream in the morning, on the morning of my day off, left me feeling far from refreshed. I'd wanted to sleep a little longer, but instead I woke up close to the time I would have during a school day. I wonder if Maya was planning to become my alarm clock from now on. I guess I'll get up. With a groggy, grumpy feeling I couldn't quite put into words, I got out of bed. I no longer had the energy to go back to sleep. As ironic as that sounds. Or as... What's the word? As oxymoronic as that sounds. Yeah? I had a simple breakfast of toast and some canned stuff. After that, despite it being my day off, I had some work to do for the science club, namely draw up a diagram for the new parts of the robot we were going to make, and then the doorbell rang. It wasn't even noon yet. Who could it be? Tetsuya would undoubtedly be on a date with Asahi. Who had come all the way up to my apartment on the top floor? I'd imagine that no salesperson would want to approach a building owned by the Hasuno family. As I was pondering over this, the door suddenly unlocked and opened. Well,
おはよう兄さん。もうきちんと起きてたみたいね。
I was
よ
between
かった
two,
わ。
but since the door opened on its own, then it could only be Saki. Morning, Saki. Wait, don't just unlock the door even though you don't know whether I'm awake or not. Just as I thought, it was Saki.
あら、今日は仕方がないのよ。いつも以上にちゃんとした理由があるんだから。
Legitimate reason? You always just take out the key and come inside without permission. But I couldn't bring myself to drive her away when she came in on a day off. Whatever. Come on in.
それじゃあ遠慮なく。ね。
Oh. Holy, look at how fucking tall you are. Saki turned to her side. I barely had time to wonder what was going on before. Damn.
ええ。内藤くんがそう言うなら遠慮なく上がれますね。
Yeah, it was Takahara. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised that Takahara is so much taller than Saki, right? But why do they have to look the same? Right?
なんですか。人を見てそんな顔して失礼ですよ。
The one standing there was the woman who was the manager of Hasuno Security Services and Saki's chaperone, Mia Takahara. She had a really cute given name, so if you didn't call her by her surname, she'd get a little mad. Oh, no, I was just surprised because I thought Saki was alone. Desperately hiding my dismay, I invited them into my apartment.
お嬢様一人の方が内藤くんにも都合が良かったんじゃなくて
It always is. Not at all. Please come inside. Why had Takahara come so suddenly? Just then I noticed why Saki had said, "I'm glad you're awake." What would have happened if I had been asleep? I didn't even want to think about it. The two of them entered my apartment, and I immediately started boiling water. I couldn't stand either silence or conversation, and I wanted to look like I was doing something. Sorry, it's just that what Saki brought. But will this tea be okay?
お構いなく。今日は遊びに来たわけじゃありませんから。
Well, I would hope that you aren't here to hang out. Though she said today, Takahara had never come here to hang out, so I was hoping it was just the usual.
それで兄さんは何してたの？
Work for club. We're determined to make one more before the third years graduate. Takahara had said not to mind them, but that didn't mean I could stop boiling water. Saki sat next to the spot where I usually sat on the sofa. Takahara remained standing and looked around the room. So what brings you here? I had a pretty good idea, but I wanted to make sure. I already had a bad feeling about this, but That was if this was just the usual deal. Considering that Saki had slept over, there was a chance that this was going to be worse.
ええ。社長の代わりに内藤くんの生活態度をチェックしに来ました。
Oh, really? I breathed a sigh of relief. It was the usual. Thank God. Saki's dad, who was the landlord of this place, was kind of acting as my guardian in place of my busy parents. Oh, right, you have parents. I always forget when protagonists who live on their own, right, in a very different part of Japan, or no, a very different part of Japan would be Unigicho and Amaro Chocolate, but a very different place from where their parents would be living. And I kind of forget that they have parents sometimes. Takahara glanced at the desk I had been working at. On the monitor was an image I was drawing, and various diagrams were scattered on the desk.
とりあえず部活動なら勉強の一環でしょうし、そうビクビクしなくても構いません。
It's been a while, so you know I'm gonna fucking I'm trying to remember what the excuse was for Toru to move out of his parents' house. Is that so? The water was boiling, so I was about to get out some packs of green tea. But Takahara suddenly reached out towards my desk.
それで、これは何ですか?
Oh, don't worry about that. She picked up some pills on the in a Ziploc bag. In other words, there was the sleeping pills I got from Club Prez. The sleeping pills I got from Club Prez. Saki, who up until now had been the one of us most at ease, turned her sharp gaze towards me. They're sleeping pills. I hadn't explained in detail about lucid dreaming and so forth, but Takahara knew that I had visited doctors regarding sleep disorders since I was a kid. So it wasn't odd for me to have sleeping pills. She understood that, but...
最近、病院に行ったという話は来ていませんけど?
That was only the case when I got them through the proper channels. They're leftovers from a long time ago.
残り。へえ、そうなんだ。へえ。それで兄さん、なんで声が硬いのかしら?
So this time I got the cadence right. Not the right word, but Saki was one thing, but I couldn't let Takahara know that Club Prez had been supplying me. I didn't want to trouble her, and I was only able to receive them because we kept it a secret between us. Saki got mad at me before when she found out. At that time, I had promised that I wouldn't get them anymore. But I still got them sometimes. I mean, it's not like they were illegal, so it wasn't much of a problem if Takahara found them, but they're really not anything strange.
そんなものに手を出していたら、抜けるまで監禁部屋ですよ。
ああ、あの部屋ですか。
Did she mean the storage room in the Hasuno house that we had been told as kids to never go near? This was why old houses were scary. As I briefly escaped reality with thoughts of that storage room, Saki stood up and walked up to me.
今日来てよかったみたいね。兄さん。
Saki glared up at me from below with a frighteningly angry-looking smile. She had her hands behind her and pressed her body against mine. She was soft and smelled good, but I didn't want the presence of mind to enjoy it. Have the presence of mind to enjoy it, especially not when Takahara is here. Well, you know, a lot of stuff has happened recently.
会ったから様子を見に来たのよ。ね、高原さん。
ええ、そうですね。お嬢様も泊まりに来ていたようですし。
Still smiling, Takahara looked over at me.
お嬢様は何もなかったって言ってましたけど、基本的に内藤くんの味方ですから、自分の目で確認しないと気が済まなくて。
That's not something to say while smiling. Doesn't that mean that you don't trust me?
本当になかったら泊まりになんて行かせるわけないでしょ。なくすとしたらこれからです。
You won't need to. Don't worry, I'm clean and sober.
それはこれから調べますから。口ではいくらでも言えますからね。
Oh no. Somehow Takahara's gaze was even scarier than usual. Hey, Saki, did you say something to Takahara? I asked Saki in a low voice. She had moved away from me, but was still giving me a frustrated look.
さあ、兄さんと同じベッドで寝たことくらいしか言ってないけど。
You're fucking baiting her. From the bottom of my heart, I wanted to run away. But if I did that, it would be like admitting to a sin I never committed. Feeling something of an aura from Takahara, which seemed even more powerful than usual, I prayed that my innocence would be proven soon.
と言っても、家探しをするわけじゃないです。いつも通り。そう。いつも通りのお片付けの手伝いですよ。
Takahara flashed me a brilliant smile. I smiled back, but I probably had a terrified looking smile. Guys, I'm clean, okay? There was actually no real need to worry. Takahara didn't search the apartment in any crazy upending the world kind of way. One of the reasons my apartment was so clean was because of these occasional inspections she called cleaning. For Takahara, she effectively saw herself as my guardian, so she made a point to ensure that I was developing into a decently responsible adult. Just as long as you aren't a decently responsible adult pining for Saki's affection. I think that's the right word. Aside from her obsessive sisterly feelings towards Saki, well, I feel like they're more justified now that I've seen what she looks like, and see that she looks like fucking Saki, just taller and a bit older, which went beyond just being her chaperone. I did actually consider Takahara as a very reliable adult.
この本はどこに置けばいいんですか?
Oh, I need that for the diagram. Diagram I'm drawing, so don't put it away, please. It didn't particularly bother me if she checked to see if there was anything suspicious as she picked things up.
そもそも兄さんは悪いことをしようと思えば夢の中で事足りるものね。
Sure. But if I've never experienced it, then all I can do is imagine what it would be like in my dreams. Moreover, I didn't have any real hobbies other than building things, though I could never get into cooking. I think part of the reason I was barely able to keep Takahara's trust was because I wasn't interested in any bad things either. What are you doing, Saki?
見ての通り、お片付けを手伝ってるんじゃないの。
She was lying. Unlike Takahara, she really was searching the apartment. For a while now, she had been examining my things carefully. She wasn't messing anything up, so that was good, but Takahara probably wasn't comfortable letting Saki involve herself with something as menial as cleaning, but she was inclined to let Saki do what she wanted. Well, there weren't many things that I would care if anyone saw, or that anyone would care that I even owned.
ところで兄さん、これは一体どういうことかしら。
Just as I thought that, I noticed Saki looking at me with a strange aura around her. What's... What's... Yeah, What are you holding?
お嬢様、何かありましたか？
Drugs. I mean, sleeping pills. I mean, porno mags. Saki was... Who would have guessed? Saki was holding what would best be called a pornographic magazine. And I had put them in that drawer specifically so Saki wouldn't spot them.
なんでこういうの持ってるの？トルちゃんはそんなの持ってないと思ってたのに。
Shit. She was so disturbed that she forgot to call me Nissan. What were you basing that belief on?
だって夢で片付けてると思って。
Don't open it and look at it. Saki seemed to be confused after having found a container filled with porno mags and DVDs. Oh, there's DVDs as well.
お嬢様、あんまりそういったものに触ってはいけません。汚れますよ。
Listen to your not older sister. Takahara gently took the magazine from Saki and put it back in its drawer. I saw the tainted part coming a mile away, but I thought Takahara would give me a look like I was an insect, but she didn't. Huh? Is that okay? You're not going to scold me?
あのね、内藤くんくらいの年頃だったら持っていたって普通でしょう。興味のある年頃でしょうし。
Takahara said that like it was common sense. Really, as long as Saki wasn't involved, she was actually pretty understanding.
むしろそういうもので存分に発散して、お嬢様に接するときは常に枯れていてほしいくらいです。
That's not how it works. But sure. Thanks, I think.
大丈夫ですよ。そんなことしなくても兄さんに変なことはされていませんから。まだ。
Don't add yet.
まだ？
Takahara, who had been standing right next to me, had me up in the air by my collar in an instant. Saki, you didn't need to add that. Takahara, have I ever done anything weird to Saki?
ないから今こうして満足に生きていられるんですよ。わかっていますよね。
Don't threaten me with a good time.
本当にその辺の他の女でも手段問わず捕まえてとっとと満足してしまえばいいのに。
What do you mean by any means?
最初は無理やりでもいいんですよ。当然お嬢様以外限定ですけど。
Okay, she's got some fucked morals, but I mean, what if? Never mind. That's horrible.
兄さん、無理やりとか、そういう趣味なの？
Saki was looking back and forth between me and the porno mags while blushing. Of course not. What kind of opinion do you have of me? Saki says she was obviously trying to hide her embarrassment by showing how calm she was before she returned to cleaning my apartment. As she hesitated about what to do with the magazines next to her, Takahara sighed from beside me.
しかしどうしてこんなことになったのか。これなら内藤くんはうちのビルに住まわせない方が良かったような。
None of this would have happened if you didn't let Saki clean his room. Right, I'm putting quotations around clean as well. I think so too. I didn't think I'd end up having so little privacy. I started living by myself when I graduated from the annex building because my parents' house was being renovated. Then Saki declared she was going to hang out regularly at my apartment. I'd politely declined, of course, but she didn't care. No matter how much I didn't seem to like it, Saki would probably keep coming as long as I didn't end up hating her.
そういった意味では内藤くんの方が分別を守ってると言えるんでしょうか。
I believe I've kept them from the beginning. But since Saki was defenseless and innocent, and I was quite aware of that, I was treated quite poorly. The only reason Takahara hadn't killed me was because I kept my wits and didn't embrace the fact that Saki was coming over. And after a few other little incidents, I ended up renting this apartment. No matter what, Saki was going to hang out at my apartment, so rather than the sort of place that a student of my means could afford, they felt more at ease if I lived in an apartment building they owned. And as a result, I lost my privacy.
お嬢様に関わらないプライベートに立ち入る気はありませんから、安心していいですよ。
The problem was that my privacy was entirely occupied by Saki. Hey, Saki, you're wearing a skirt, so be careful. Saki's skirt had gotten caught on something as she crawled around my apartment, and I could almost...
兄さん、見えた？
No, but also speaking of, why are you in your school uniform? It's a weekend, isn't it? I mean, it's strange that Toru referred to it as his day off, right? Like he has a job, like he has a J asterisk B, but it's school. So why do you have a uniform on a weekend? I saw them. I questioned the wisdom of red and black at her age, but I wasn't stupid enough to say it out loud. Well, the red and the black signify her eyes and hair, okay? They're very intentional color matching. Color something.
いい度胸ですね、内藤くん。
It's like if Takahara's panties were yellow and black. Were yellow and black. I don't know why I sounded like I was going to say more after black, but I sensed Takahara standing up. All I did was warn her. What on earth should I have done? What on earth should I have done? If only this were a dream, but the sky was too clear and bright. It was like the world was trying to tell me that this was the reality I was living,